Ahoy everyone, I'm Chris from Rustic Rabbit and welcome back to the channel. Now if you're new to our channel, we provide guidance for an average family to raise your own meat, grow your own food, do all that in your backyard, and then we take you into the kitchen and we show you what to do with it, how to make it into something pretty special. So we're not talking just, fill your bellies in the middle of the week, we're talking some gourmet cuisine, something pretty nice that you can impress people with. Okay, so today we want to do something different again, and we're looking at like a Greek influence. So we're going to do a Mediterranean rabbit, and we're going to side it with falafel and tahini sauce. Okay, so let's start with our tahini sauce because we're going to have to chill that first. So sesame seeds is ground it up and put some olive oil, and that's pretty much tahini sauce. But sesame seeds are expensive. You get them in the spice rack at the grocery store. So go to an Asian market, you could actually get them in bulk pretty cheap for some reason. But get them toasted a little bit, not for too long, just a couple minutes here. Heat them up, get that toasty flavor coming from them, that aroma, and then you stick them in a really high powerful food processor. I have a Vitamix here. It was a wedding gift. That's the only reason I'd ever have one. They're super expensive, but throw them in there, put some olive oil in there, grind it up, and then you're gonna have effectively the base of your tahini. Once you get that, you put it in a bowl. Add a few more dry ingredients, kind of mix it up, and this is the consistency that you want it to be. So put that in the fridge, let that chill for a while, and then we're actually going to make the falafel now. So there's nothing special about the ingredients; doesn't look anything different. So I just have it here in the blender. Put it in a food processor, get your ingredients in there, pulse it for a little bit, and then you're going to take it out, put it in a bowl, and add your dry ingredients that are left, and kind of just get that mixed up real well. Now the consistency you want is like coarse sand. If it's too wet, it's going to be very difficult to roll into a ball. And if it's too dry, it's going to come apart like breadcrumbs. And then when you start to cook it in oil, it's just going to scatter. It'll be a mess. So you got to get that consistency right. Play with it until you do. Add some flour if you need to dry it up. But roll it into balls. Get that set. And then you want to get some oil up to temperature so you can kind of very gently put them in the oil. I don't really love using oil a lot, so I defer to the people who do. And I've been told avocado oil works best for this. I've used it, and I always have used it that way, so I've just kind of stuck with it. Don't fix it if it's not broke, right? So avocado oil temperature is different than olive oil, which is what I typically use for everything. So it'll kind of stay hot without burning off. So that avocado oil works great. Get that up to temperature, stick those in there very gently, kind of roll them around until they cook pretty evenly, until like a golden brown. It's not going to be more than a few minutes. And then put them aside, let them kind of drain a little bit, and they'll come down on temperature. Now, when you're all done, this is what they should look like when you kind of break it apart. You'll have a nice, golden crust on the outside, and the inside it'll still be, somewhat cooked, but it's not going to be all mush. Okay, I love Mediterranean food, and just beyond the flavors, it's just a light food. It's a great cuisine. So they usually use like fish as a protein, or they do a lot. We're using rabbit today, so I still want to take all the bones out and make it as light as I can. So I've deboned a saddle. I've taken the front loins off, and we're using the boneless rear loins as our protein. So start off, melt your butter, get your shallots in there, and start to kind of move them around, get them sweating. And once you've done that, then you can add your white wine. Because that'll burn off. Don't forget, if everyone's worried about alcohol in your food, all the alcohol burns off. It has a lower boiling point than water. So move that around. Get your pepperoncinis in there. Squeeze some fresh lime juice in there. And again, you want that volume to kind of start to evaporate off and those flavors to condense and kind of mix together. Once that starts to happen, throw in your calamatas and then move that around. And if it starts to dry up too much, don't be afraid to add a little bit more white wine just to make sure you have everything you need, because this is going to be your marinade that you finish off your rabbit in. So now when you actually get the rabbit pre-cooked, so get your flour, get your egg, and just kind of dust it with the flour. Shake it off to make sure it's not caked in flour, and then just dunk it in your eggs, and that'll have a nice base. You put that in a separate pan with oil. And get that cooking. You're just kind of pre-cooking it, right? So you don't want to get all the way through necessarily, but cook it for a few minutes on each side and get it pretty, well cooked. And then you're going to transfer it carefully over to your marinade that you just spent all that time making. So again, don't let it dry up too much. So, get the temperature down a little bit. It doesn't have to be boiling hot. And, you know, add some more wine in there if you need to. But move that around, you know, kind of flip it over, make sure it's well covered, and make sure you get that internal temp to 160 again to make sure you're safe to eat. So once you have that pretty well cooked, it comes down to presentation. Again, we're ready to put it all together and give you some tips on presentation. I used a basmati rice here because, again, it comes from the area, so that'll just kind of be consistent. I steam my rice, and what I like to do is, you know, get a piece of Tupperware or something that's just a nice shape. You kind of really pack it in there with a fork, and then you can, you know, flip it over. And one, it keeps it together so it looks nice, but two, it's also a portion control, so you don't have this pile of rice. So set everything gently on there, move it around, and then again, you can kind of top it off with a little bit of chopped parsley, your feta cheese. I throw a few whole calamatas and pepperoncinis on there, and then again, put your tahini to the side, you know, drizzle it over your falafel, and you got a nice presentation of plate here. So hopefully you enjoyed this. It's an excellent meal. I love the flavors. It really looks nice. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. And again, we appreciate your support. So if you could subscribe, we'd love that, and pass it on even. And you know, if nothing else, God bless.